Welcome to Ask the Judge, a program presented by the CZ Court Reporter, a function of CZ CLEP.
My name is John Celebrezzi, and I'm the co-founder of the Celebrezzi-Zangi Community Legal Education Project, as we call it, CZ CLEP for short. Our organization provides continuing education about the judiciary and legislature to attorneys, judges, government officials, and the general public. As a career educator, I recognized early on how important legal matters are and how they impact our lives. I am the nephew of the late Anthony J. Celebrezzi, who was the popular 5-term mayor of Cleveland and a member of President Kennedy's cabinets. As a tribute to his lifetime commitment to the legal process, we dedicate this show.
John's guest today is Judge Christopher J. Collier. Judge Collier was born in Cleveland and attended the United States Air Force Academy, Walsh College in Canton, and received his law degree from the Cleveland Marshall College of Law. He has served as Medina County's Common Pleas Judge since April of 1999. Prior to being a judge, he was a prosecutor for the City of Brunswick and was hired as Chief of Felony Division for the Medina County Prosecutor's Office. He served as prosecutor for 10 years. He then left the prosecutor's office for private practice. For almost a decade, nearly all of his work involved criminal defense.
Judge, welcome back.
Hey, thanks a lot. It's great to be back.
Last time you were here, I think it was in the summer.
It was. I believe it was last summer, and we talked about all of the interesting things about drug court.
That's right. Which is alive and well.
Still going on. Just finished last night. We brought 2 new people into drug court. Last night they entered drug court, and last week graduated another person who successfully abstained from drugs and alcohol for a year. So we're doing great.
That's great.
We're up to capacity. We're doing well.
That is wonderful. Well, Judge, that show was Law Talk, as you know, and you were my guest, and we had a great time that day, as usual. But today is a little bit different show. This show, Judge, is called Ask the Judge. It's a new show that CZ has started production on last year, and our reporter, Kate Feeks, who I know you know,
Yep.
has been very instrumental in helping us with this. What happens, Judge, is Kate gets around to the community and actually finds folks that know you and want to know more about the court. So she actually gets questions from them, and then with your permission, we're going to ask you if you would answer them.
That's great. Love to do it.
And this is where you'll be actually addressing specific questions of specific people in our community.
Glad to do it.
Okay. Well, Kate, at this point in time, I'm going to turn things over to you. I know you've been out and about, pretty much.
Yes.
Medina, is that this one?
Right.
And folks that would like to ask the judge some things. So
Okay.
without any to do,
Thank
go
you,
right
John.
ahead.
Thank you. Judge Collier, thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
And we met back in the fall, and I interviewed you about your jury survey that your court provides. And some of the things that we talked about were that you wanted to give each juror, the best experience that serving in your courtroom that you could provide. So,
right. That's the whole purpose for it.
Yes. And also we talked about how you look to their feedback to improve situations.
For the jurors, for the court, and for the entire jury experience.
Okay.
We try to do it that way, yes.
Yes. So John and I thought this would be an interesting topic to discuss on the show.
Great.
So I put together some questions from the public that go into detail about the survey, as well as getting to know about you and the
Sure,
court.
Kate, what do you want to know?
So my first question I would like to ask was that we have John.
Hi, Judge Collier. My name is John. I'm from the city of Medina. Where'd you grow up and attend school?
I'm from Euclid, Ohio,
Okay.
Which is the first suburb east of Cleveland. It's a lakefront suburb east of Cleveland. I grew up there, graduated from Euclid High School, which is a public school, in 1972, and then graduated from college at a college called Walsh College in Canton, Ohio. Real small school. And from there I went to John Marshall College of Law in Cleveland, which is part of the Cleveland State University. So I'm a Northeast Ohio person. I moved down here to Medina County in 1979 in order to begin a practice.
Okay.
So that's where I'm from.
Good. Wonderful. Our next question's from Jackie.
Hi, Judge. My name is Jackie, and I was just wondering how long you've been a judge.
I'm beginning my second term now. There are, you serve for a 6-year term and then you stand for election. So I was elected once, actually appointed once and then was elected, and then elected again, and now I'm starting my 3rd term. So it's been 13 years as a judge.
Great.
Before that, I was a defense attorney for 10 years. So I defended drunk driving cases, murders, robbers, rapists, burglars. There was a private business. John, you know,
Sure.
you represent defendants who come in and they're in
Absolutely.
trouble and they need help,
That's right.
and you represent those folks. I did that for 10 years. And then prior to that, for 10 years, I was a prosecutor. And I prosecuted murders, robbers, rapists, same people I ended up, same type of,
Pretty
that's what you do. And that's the experience you get, right?
Right.
And so 20 years before I was a judge, I was a prosecuting attorney, defense attorney, and now this for 13 years.
So actually, Judge, you've pretty much held every seat in the court. You've
Exactly.
been the prosecutor, you've been a defense attorney, you've been the judge. Well, you are the judge. By the way, Judge, was it always common pleas court that you sat on the?
Actually, no. As a judge, always common pleas court. I was a prosecutor in municipal court for 3.5 or 4 years before I got the job as a common pleas court prosecutor. So I did drunk driving cases for the city of Brunswick.
I see.
I was their assistant law director and a prosecutor, and then moved to the county prosecutor's office.
Okay.
But it's as a judge always in common pleas court. The hole in the resume, which I've been trying to fill and have tried to do it as a judge, is civil work. Because
Sure.
all of my experience had been in the criminal law.
Yeah.
So now the challenge, and it's so interesting, is handling the civil cases, personal injury cases, contract disputes, medical malpractice, those kinds of things, appeals from zoning boards and commissioners' appeals. Those are things that are always a challenge for me legally and factually, because when you're a prosecutor, defense attorney, you don't get that much work.
Sure.
That's fascinating and really kind of fun to learn. Keeps
So
it fresh.
Actually, Judges, you've held every seat in the House but one. You've never been a juror.
I've never been a juror.
Well, I think that's pretty typical of judges.
That's exactly right.
But I know, and that's what we ask you. You do a lot with your juries. I've witnessed firsthand.
I had you in a case.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. And so we know you're very focused on them and making it the best experience possible, and the system works because of them. So,
Right.
Go ahead, Kate. We got a question from Jackie. Well, I guess Jackie, we've answered you. Judge has been a judge for 13 years.
That's
so
right.
Let's hear from Mark.
And our third question is from Mark.
Hi, Judge. My name is Mark. My question for you today is, what is the most interesting case you've ever had?
I have to tell you, I get this question a lot from people who are interested in the job. We're like, what do you do? What do you like? It's the one that's right in front of me. If you see it this way, every case, this year already, we've had an aggravated murder trial, 2 weeks of an aggravated murder trial. We've had a rape case. We've had a sexual assault case. We've had 3 personal injury cases and a contract claim. But every single one of them shares one thing, and that is the real people. They have real concerns, right? And there are attorneys who are representing them as best they can, and they have a dispute that a jury is going to have to resolve because the parties aren't able to, right? The jury's going to have to decide this thing. And so the interest for me is watching that happen. How the lawyer presents a case, how the jury reacts to that presentation, the physical evidence, the questioning the witnesses, the conflict in what's going on in the courtroom it's like this. It's really exciting. It's really, really fun. And it's fun to watch exactly how that happens. So I have to tell you, the most recent case I finished, which I finished last week, was a week-long case about concrete. $500,000 worth of ready-mix concrete, and who owes the money for the bill? The concrete supplier is saying there are 2 or 3 people who owe the money, and each one's going, not me. It's it's that one over there, right? And the way that it was presented, the lawyers were so good. It's so interesting. I'll tell you, the very last one was the most interesting one I've had, and the next one will be the next one too. So they all come at you like that. Yeah.
Judge, when you get the civil matters, which at least in the media world somewhat take the back seat, because we read about you all the time on criminal matters. And
criminal cases make better copies.
Yeah, they do. But do you find your jurors as engaged in, for example, in this concrete case?
I couldn't believe it, and the jurors are, I'm sorry, the attorneys are worried about that. The first thing that the attorney says during the trial is, hey, I know this is just about a bill and about concrete, and I know maybe you came in here expecting something more. I tell you, we are so blessed with these folks who attend to this like you can't believe. The fourth day of this jury trial, one of the jurors is kind of, I see him taking notes because I let my jurors take notes, and he's taking notes about what one witness is asking, and the witness said something that sounded a little confused, not exactly on point, and not what he said before, and the juror on his own goes, wait, I didn't understand that. and I thought, two things. I thought, wow, jurors don't normally do this. And second, he's really paying attention.
Sure, yeah.
4 days into this concrete case, this guy's got this, right? And I thought, that's great. So I try to get them as interested and compelled to do this as I possibly can. And I remind them about how important it is, no matter what it is.
Sure.
For if you're a litigant, if you're a plaintiff, if you're a defendant, this is the most important thing that's going on for you. And sometimes this is a culmination of years and years and years of heartache and difficulty.
Sure.
You want those jurors to feel that way about it too, and we're lucky they do. They really, really do.
Okay.
It's
Wonderful.
fun.
It's good to hear. Go ahead, Kate.
Okay, this question is regarding your survey and the feedback that you receive. And this question comes from Ken.
Hi, Judge. My name's Ken. Can you tell us about your jury survey and what are your intentions?
Ken, that's a great question. Let me tell you how this thing started. Nobody volunteers for jury service. I've been a judge 13 years, right? I never got a letter from somebody saying, "Oh, Judge Collier, is there a way you can get me on the jury?" They don't want to do it, right? Here's what typically happens. You're sitting at home, husband or wife brings in the mail. Here's something for you, honey. You open it. A jury summons! That's the last thing I want. Oh my God, this is crazy. And they throw it down, and it's like they stomp around. They go, I got something going on, and look, it's a bother, right? It's going to be for a week, sometimes for 2 or 3 weeks, and they got to figure out what they're going to do with their job, and they have to do what they're going to do with their children, and they have to get babysitter issues, and how am I going to get back and forth? Maybe the family only has one car, and so like this, and clearly they're not happy. They got some judge ordering them in, and then after a couple of days, they pick it up again and they start filling out the questionnaire, and they send it back, and I'm available, and here's what it is, and they're not happy, and then something happens, and I'll tell you, it is typically an American experience. Here's what happens. They send the thing in, and then they mark it on their calendar, and understand these people have no connection with the case whatsoever that they got to solve. They come walking in, they walk in my courtroom, they sit down, they go, okay, Judge, here I am. What do I do? How do I serve?
See.
Wow. Okay, so that demands from me respect. From me and from the people in the courtroom.
Yeah.
These people are for nothing or practically nothing solving this problem, criminal or civil. They're going to spend their time and their effort caring about somebody who's not them, and they're getting nothing for it. This is huge. So what I wanted to do is try to figure out a way to make this experience better for them. Ken, so here's what I figured out.
Okay.
Since I was a trial lawyer prosecuting defense attorney for 20 years, I wanted to figure out from the jury what it is we can do as a court to help them do this better. And basically what happens is when the trial is over and they're getting ready to get their cell phones and take their badges off, and all of them need notes to say, hey, employer, I was at jury duty this week, and some employers are good enough to pay for this, right? I'll say, are there any questions, anything you want to know, any questions that you have? I want to kind of talk them if they want to talk or ask any questions, and some of them do. In criminal cases, the jury doesn't sentence the defendant. I do, and I normally don't do it that day. And so they'll go, what's going to happen, Judge? And I explain about that process. Or in a civil case, if they've awarded an award, they say, well, what's going to happen? We said $20,000. Does he go out and peel off $20,000? No, here's how it's going to happen, and you have them explain it that way. And from that opening, I will ask them, I got some questions for you, if you don't mind. Can I ask you some questions? And the purpose of the question is so that I can make the next jury's experience as good or better than yours.
I see.
Right.
And so I did this 13 years ago, and I've had 500 plus jury trials.
Wow.
So every time I'm getting feedback from the people who we honor for doing this work. And the questions are as simple as, hey, did you get enough breaks? You know, what kinds of things distracted you from what was going on in the courtroom, and what kinds of things helped you attend to what's going on, right? What can we do? And what I mean by me is me and my staff make it easier for you to be able to hear, understand, and do your job.
Right.
And so I ask a series of questions, pretty much in rotation, and the judge, yeah, you could do this or you could do this. You have to be sort of thick-skinned about it, because sometimes they tell you, which is what you want.
Yeah, sure.
You want that so you can make it better the next time. So that's basically the idea about it. And what you develop, if you're in my position, is you develop a body of knowledge from 500 times, well, let's average 5,000 people, about what it is that allows them to do their job better, so the next group gets it even better than them. So that's the idea.
Yes.
So, Judge, in your tenure of 13 years, just since you've been a judge, not when you were a prosecutor, you've had in excess of 500?
Yes. Yeah.
500 jury trials?
Yes.
And that jury pool is about how many people when you first meet them?
50, we bring in 50 people every Monday. So 50 people are sitting in the back. We give them the introduction. They spend half a day or 3/4 of a day, sometimes a day with us as we pick the jury.
Yeah.
And then that eventually whittles down to 12 plus 2 or 3 alternates, or 8 plus 2 or 3 alternates. And the rest of them go home. And sometimes if it's a short trial, a 2 or 3 day trial, they come back then on the following Wednesday. We go Monday and then Wednesday, and they'll finish out a 2 or 3 day trial. So those are the kinds of things that you have. And I have to tell you, it's so good for us to get the knowledge directly from the jurors, right?
Right.
We thought about sending cards. We'd never get those back. Look, we've already asked so much from them. I don't want to do this. And they basically want to be able to give you this information, generally speaking. And the ones who want to talk, they just want to go, hey, it's okay, bye-bye. You know, that's nice too, because, hey, they've done their job. We're just trying to make it a little better for the next group.
That number is significant, though, because, I mean, 500 trials, you've met a lot of jury. Some of these people are of the same family.
Yep.
This isn't a huge community, and I mean, it makes pretty good dinner table.
You had my wife.
It makes pretty good dinner table conversation. You know, I met Judge Collier today.
What we're trying to do, and I think you know it, right? You do know it because you were in a trial with me. We're trying to get them, the jurors, to understand how important they are to this process.
Yeah, which they are.
There's so much. It doesn't work without them. Look, I'm just driving the bus. All right? The hard work of justice, the hard work of doing things right comes from them and the sacrifices they willingly make so that their community can be better.
Exactly.
I get paid for this. They, generally speaking, they get nothing. They get $20 a day, $15 a day, $20 a day. Doesn't even cover their lunch and their gas, right? They're the ones, and so you want to make sure that your community is excited about being on jury duty, that they really want to do this thing for justice, for fairness for the people in front of them. You don't want people going, oh, God, I hate this. This is the worst thing ever. Boom. You know, you want them to be excited about it.
The jury trial is the envy of the world. I mean, we've always known that.
It's an important thing.
But the numbers that you're raising here, 500 jury trials. I mean, Judge, I still view you as very much a young judge. I mean, 13 years. Wow.
It's a lot. It's been great. We have only 2 common police court judges, and Judge Kimball and I are very busy. Our population has increased.
Yes.
We have about 178,000 people in Medina County. Judge per population, we're high in population numbers. We're not sitting around wondering what to do next, right?
Sure.
Usually what we're doing is we're slotting jury trials, and sometimes, and it may have even been with your case, there are other jury trials waiting to go, and I have to go, I'm sorry, this one's first, we're going to do next. So it's been that busy, and you can really develop those kinds of numbers pretty easily with regard to this.
Okay.
What else do you have?
Go ahead,
Okay,
Kate.
next I have Andy.
Hello, Judge Collier. I'm Andy Earhart, and my question for you is, what are some of the questions that you ask jurors in this hearing?
Understand that the whole purpose of this is to serve the next group of jurors. And so, Andy, what I'm trying to get from them is, first, simple housekeeping things. how did you tolerate your jury experience? Could you see, hear, and understand everything that was presented to you? And they'll say, well, yeah, I could, or when that lawyer was talking, he was speaking too softly, and we get that. You know what it's like. You're standing in the courtroom and you're presenting a witness on the witness stand, and you begin talking to that witness, and pretty soon, if you're a lawyer, you're sort of in a quiet conversation with the person.
Right.
Well, the jurors,
you might not hear it.
Yeah, 25. Were you able to hear and understand that? Well, no, actually. Oh, good. Then that's information that I can use. And now next time when I see a lawyer step up to a witness, I'll say, hey, make sure you keep and friendly. Make sure you keep your voice up so those people can hear. We have something physically. Are you able to tolerate this? Judge, if we could take a break every hour and 15 minutes rather than an hour and a half, that's good. That kind of information. The other kinds of information that are, I think, important to me because they're important to the litigants is, did you understand what was presented? Were the attorneys able to present this case to you in a clear way? Were you able to view the exhibits?
I see.
Right?
Yeah.
Physical exhibits are very important in trials. How were you able to view those exhibits? Did they get to you properly? Once you got back in the jury room, were they a mess? Could you physically get through those things? While the trial is going on and the witness and the attorney are talking to each other, and sometimes the jury doesn't see the thing that the attorneys are talking about. And they may have a 10 or 12 minute conversation about something that 12 people aren't even looking at.
Very good point. Excellent point,
how can you do that? So I get this feedback from these jurors. How was the presentation? What can we do different? How about the physical exhibits? Were you able to get those things right? The setting, to and from the courtroom. How was your experience from the time you parked the car until the time you left? Getting through security, all of those kinds of things. Security nowadays is serious, right? And some of the jurors are like, oh, it's pretty intense getting through. We give them badges now so that the security people can see, okay, this is what they're there for, and they can kind of cue down what they're looking for rather than somebody who's just visiting the courthouse. So all of those are the kinds of questions we kind of focus on. There are about 10 or 12 rather discrete questions that I try to engage the jurors with.
Judge, when you really think about it, and I mean, we see each other all the time as lawyer, judge, and Kate's in the courthouse all the time reporting. But with these type of numbers that you're mentioning, a lot of these people may have never stepped foot in that courthouse. They've never been in a courtroom. They see a lot of television, but this is their first real encounter with the real thing.
Right. And two things about that. The first thing is you want to make sure that they can do their job, their most important job, easily, without obstacle.
Sure.
And the second thing is you want them to feel great about it. These people are the lifeblood of what we do, our citizens. So important. You want them to leave this experience. I tell them all, is what I say. I said, when you do it, you're going to find this to be the most interesting, exciting, fun, responsible, important, and memorable civic experiences you have ever engaged in. and then I tell them, look, I say, look, jurors, I know you don't believe it, you think I'm nuts, but here's what's going to happen. When you're done with jury duty and you've signed the verdict form and you're getting ready to leave, you're going to turn around and you're going to go, Judge, I don't want to quit my job. I want to leave my family, and I want to be a juror in your courtroom every day. See, that's the ideal juror. You want them to have that kind of experience. So I keep that in the forefront of my mind, and they go, no, I won't. And then when it's over, I go, do you want to come back? And they go, yes. Every once in a while they go, no, but that's the one you want to kind of fix it for. So
that's perfect.
What else do you have?
Go ahead, Kate.
Okay, next I have Jamie.
Hi, I'm Jamie Turk. And what I would like to know is, what do you do with the responses from your jurors' questions?
After every experience, I'll make note of the problems that are problem issues. I'll make note of the ones that are new. As you will expect, many of the answers are the same, right? Hey, how did you find the courtroom experience from the beginning to the end? And you might go, everything's fine. Okay, you're not gonna do that. But every once in a while, you get somebody who says, hey, you know what? I'll give you a perfect example. We noticed that the lawyers have water, that they have in their kinds of water. We're out here for 4 hours in the morning and 4 hours in the afternoon. We got nothing except our breaks. Is there a way that you can? Sure. So I'll mark that down. And now John knows the jurors can bring bottled water out or coffee or tea.
Right.
So they can do this as well. Obviously, I don't want you eating pizza. Hey, watch what's going on. But it's you're really demanding a lot of these folks. Yeah, a glass of water, you can do that. I got another one for you. I don't know if I'm jumping ahead. We had folks who we reconfigured the entire courtroom on the basis of what the jurors told us.
You know, I always wanted to ask you that question because several years ago I was working with a local attorney as a paralegal, and the jury was in a different spot.
Exactly.
That why you did that?
Yeah, we got feedback from the jury, and here's what happened. We would get answers all the time. I'll tell you what it was. I sit here on the bench, right? And the way the jury, you remember, John, the way the jury used to be is they would be in front of me, which was kind of a peculiar way to sit. But we got responses over and over again from jurors basically saying, hey, look, I'm sort of uncomfortable. What do you mean? There are people sitting behind us. The gallery is then directly behind the jury, and they're making noise, and we're looking back, and you know, look, we have robbery, murder, rape, burglary cases. These are uncomfortable situations for jurors to be put in to have to listen to these cases anyways. They'll do it, but we'd rather not have people running around behind us and making noise.
So you put them on that wall there.
So we physically, having got enough of this, I went to the commissioners and went to the sheriff and said, hey, is there a way we can kind of move this thing over? And they said, yeah, we got money for that. So we budgeted it in, and now the jurors, as a result of their responses to my questions, are physically closer to the wall and closer to the jury room. They love it. It's a better location.
They come right out that door and right into
and
there.
Turn right around. For security purposes, for their own ability to get in and out of the jury room, it's much better. That came from jury feedback. Got another one for you. The jurors were, we got these new chairs, and they're kind of interesting. They're hydraulic. You sit on them, they go, and then you like go, they go down. Except they don't go down far enough for short-legged people like me. And so some of the jurors are going, you know, my knees are getting, my feet are still not reaching the floor. So we went out to the Staples, and my bailiff and I bought footstools. So we got little footstools. We got like 3 or 4 footstools for those people who are vertically challenged to be able to do this. And so those are the kinds of things you look for.
Okay, Kate, I think we got time for one more question.
Okay, the last one will be from Brian.
Hi, Judge Collier. How are you? Brian Turk, Medina, Ohio. And I was wondering, has any of the jurors ever refused to do your survey?
Oh yeah, but it's not a formal thing. So if what I say is, hey, look, do you have a chance to talk to me? Do you mind answering a couple questions so I can make this thing better for the next group? I tell them, you're not the last jury I'm going to hear. You're about halfway in the middle if my career goes right, and I want to make sure that the very last jurors get a better experience, or at least a good experience as you. Do you have some time to talk to me about this, and let me tell you about the questions? And they go, hey, look, I gotta get going. Okay, that's great. Thank you, thank you for what you've done.
Exactly.
And then what you say to them, and it's important, is if you think about something. And if I've done something to make you look at me a little squirrely, or if the attorneys have, or if anybody on my staff has, or anybody else, write me a letter. Hey, Judge Collier, or send me an email. I was a juror. This is my concern, and because I want to make sure that if you're leaving and you feel uncomfortable about doing this, maybe you're not uncomfortable in your own home, right?
Sure.
Maybe you're able to do this thing. Look. In the end, look, I work for you, right? I want to be able to do this thing right so that you feel like this was a good experience for you.
Great.
Well, great. Well, Judge, we can't thank you enough for being with us. The time went, as it
Really
always
fast.
does, just flew by. I know the folks out in the community will look forward to the show and getting their questions answered directly by you. It sounds like jury activity is pretty prevalent in your courtroom.
Real big. It's what we
continues
do.
to be at 500, and well, we hope you're not even at halfway yet.
I'm hoping to.
For sure. Well, thank you, Judge, for being our guest today on Ask
Hey,
the
John,
Judge.
thanks so much. You're so kind to me. Thank you. Thank you.
Comments made by John's guest on Ask the Judge are solely those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Celebrezzi Zangi Community Legal Education Project